are St. Maarten. You are St. Maarten.
The URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement, being a political movement, will be hosting a weekly radio program called You Are Sint Maarten, every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Radio Mix 94.7 FM. I myself, Dr. Messalina, the political leader of URSM, will be hosting this radio program in which current issues, actualities and general topics will be discussed with the people of Sint Maarten. So join us every Wednesday on Radio Mix 94.7 for our radio show You Are Sint Maarten.
You are St. Maarten. You are St. Maarten.
Dear people of Sint Maarten, good evening. Welcome to your radio program You Are Sint Maarten on the Radio Mix 94.7 FM. As you know, I myself, Dr. Messalina, will be your host in this radio program. And as you know, I'm the surgeon serving Sint Maarten in our healthcare system since 1999. And since the 10th of October 2021, I'm also the political leader of the URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement, that will for sure contest the upcoming parliamentary elections for country Sint Maarten. Hopefully this parliamentary election will be sooner than later. As you know how our country is going at this particular moment, I really believe that we need a new government with great vision to put this country back on track. But whenever that may be, the URSM is ready to contest the upcoming election. As you know, URSM stands for putting the people and the country above self and believes in educating and informing the people of this country. We strongly believe that there should always be a sound balance between economic growth and the welfare of our society. We are also in favor of housing, of education and healthcare, and of course combating of poverty. Many times people ask me, Dr. Messalina, where does this URSM stand for? I think I need a half day to explain what this URSM is all about. But in principle, at the end of the day, there are some crying issues in our community, being, for example, our housing necessity for the people of Sint Maarten, our poor educational system that is not custom-made to our necessities on our labor market, our healthcare. I do believe, although the fact that I'm working in the healthcare, there are a lot of improvements still to be done in the healthcare for the people of this country. And of course, my baby not only being the healthcare, but also I'm very sensitive, and the URSM is very sensitive for the dominating poverty at this particular moment in our community. And we will be in favor of all measures taken that will favor the people of this country, that will empower them, and that will combat the poverty of this country. We are presenting a weekly program in which current topics, community issues and developments, and general matters concerning the people of Sint Maarten are discussed. As you know, this is a weekly radio program, and every week, if it's possible, we have an invitee with us in our radio program. And of course, today we have a candidate that has officially launched himself as a candidate of the URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement, in the name of Mr. Reginald Brugh. And I decided today to highlight a little the person, Mr. Reginald Brugh, as a candidate on the URSM party slate. I myself, I'm very impressed with Mr. Brugh for his commitment for his country, his integrity, and his understanding of the cry of the people of this country. And hence today we have with us no one else than Mr. Reginald Brugh. Mr. Brugh, thank you for being today with us. Thank you for taking your time out to be with us in our radio program, You Are Sint Maarten. Welcome to our program.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Messalina, for having me on the program. To all those listening out there, once again, thank you very much for tuning in. And as Dr. Messalina said, we are a political movement that is about putting country above self. That is one of the core reasons to which I have decided to join the movement. I hear the cries of our people. I understand the cries of our people, and I know I have the solution in order to solve most of the issues of our people. I am once again grateful for being here. I am going to share my thoughts on a lot of things, and as time goes by, as we get closer to that decisive moment, I will be bringing certain things to the table in the benefit of all our people of St. Maarten.
Reginald, thank you for this introduction of yourself. Reginald, as you said, we are very aware of the cries of our people nowadays in this country. And it's getting to enormous dimensions nowadays. That, for example, our frontline workers are also at this particular moment suffering. As I said in the beginning, it's not only the education system of the country is in need of improvement, in need of betterment. It's also our healthcare in general. It's also about our housing for especially the lower social class of our community, and the first base part of the middle class of our community that are in need of housing. And it's also about the big poverty in our country. It's also, in my vision, about housing, education, healthcare, and combating poverty. All of that, of course, is a very complex something for our community nowadays, because all those are at this particular moment in big problems. Are hot issues nowadays, unfortunately, but because it should not be like that. And next to that, we have our frontline workers trying to keep our community safely going. I'm talking about the uniformed group of people in our society that is an absolutely need for a balanced, stable, democratic state as St. Maarten. And at this particular moment, it's not only the housing and the education and the healthcare and the poverty as such that are in cry, but at this particular moment it's also those giving guarantee to a safe community, being our frontline workers, are constantly in a battle with government to survive. Reginald, give me your take.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me take this opportunity to thank all our frontline workers, our first responders, and essential workers on the island for doing what they have agreed to do, in the sense of putting country above self. Their contribution to this country goes, for me, I can only speak for me at the moment, and of course, by extension, the movement as well. Their contribution for me to this country goes above and beyond.
Yeah.
It goes above and beyond.
I
appreciate everything that they do. On the same token, I can also say that I hear their cries, and it's unfortunate that almost. Now, let me put it this way: it's unfortunate that most of our first-line workers are crying, and no one is answering their cries. Mm-hmm. How is it possible? Our police department, one of the frontline workers, is asking for what is due to them for the last 13 years, and we are not putting the urgency to it. How is it possible that prison guards, for example, they are working in a situation where inmates are offering them more than what their salary is? How is it possible our immigration officers are working in conditions to which they themselves are putting their lives in danger, but they're not given the tools to which they have to work? And that goes across the board for most of our justice ministries. Fire department, look at the conditions that they have to work under. And all of these things, our teachers also work under very stressful conditions. Mm-hmm. And they have made it public. I mean, over the last couple of months, we've seen fire department going on strike. We've seen the police go slow. We've seen Immigration also go slow. And when I talk about the immigration, it slips right, it touches into our, what we call our core economy, the tourism.
Yep.
And it's so strange that once it touches tourism, that we don't have the competent authority putting some more pressure under the person responsible to make sure that the operation goes smooth. If immigration has an issue, the competent authority of tourism should address the competent authority for justice and make sure that that the tourism sector does not harm the country. Now, I've always believed this. I've always believed. People always say that our number one pillar is tourism. That's what they say. But I've always believed different. I believe that our number one pillar is our people. We have got to invest in our people. We have got to make sure that our people have the tools that they need to work, and they are rewarded the way that they're supposed to be rewarded, way that they can continue to produce. Imagine if we had a country without teachers. Imagine if we had a country without police officers. I mean, you don't even have to imagine. Look at after the Hurricane Irma. Police officers were not quickly dispatched. What happened to the public?
Yeah.
I mean, at a certain point in time, we have got to say enough is enough.
Yeah. You know, Richinel, let's start with the ones that are in fire, being the police department of country St. Maarten. I do believe that if your frontline workers of your country are not functional in the way they should be, not because of their own contribution, but because the way they are being treated, I think it's going to bring your democracy in danger.
Yes, it is.
So let's start with the police force now. We have to make a good understanding that we must not think that we are giving them something extra. That is not true. It is a whole misconception about what they're fighting for. It's just like the Landsverordening, the national ordinance is stipulated. We just adhere to what the law says.
Correct.
And we have copy-pasted a lot of the Landsverordening and the national ordinances of the Netherlands Antilles. And we knew by that time that we would get some diseases with this copy-paste approach. And one of them was that we didn't know good how to scale or rescale the police officers and those from the Landsrecherche and those from immigration. And now you're in a whole confusion about their scaling, about their salaries, about the payment of their secondary labor conditions. And that makes at a certain moment that we think that we are doing something extra for them, what is not the case. We are just...
It's what they're entitled to.
Yes,
it's just
exactly. It's just what they're entitled to. And I see at this particular moment no other option that this must be solved at this particular moment for the police officers. And it falls under the title Enough is Enough. We have kept them for 13 years with a promise. Correct. And no government until now has been in a position to actually adhere to what the law says, because it's not that they're fighting for something outside the documentation of the law. It's just what the law is stipulating. They want that to be organized, arranged, without misunderstanding about their payments. And I do believe that should happen. Yeah. But there is something very, very strange that is happening now in our community that I completely disagree with, and I hope that they're not going to go that direction. I have seen in the social media that now, I don't know if it's true, that there should be an approach to see if we can get police officers from Curaçao to come assist us here because of the go slow of our police officers. I disagree if the minister does that, because we are a country with our own police force, and the police force that she's trying to request to come to assist now in the go slow action of the police force of Sint Maarten. I do not believe that you can just replace a police force from a other country of the Netherlands, of the kingdom, into putting them in another country and think that as of day one, things are running smoothly. I think it's very dangerous even for a democratic state to just take police forces of other countries and just install them in your country and do as if it's business as usual. Secondly, I do believe that that falls under divide and conquer, because you're going to use the same police force but from another country to actually not strengthen the battle and what the police is fighting for in Sint Maarten. You're going to use now others. You're not going to appreciate your own police force. You're going to now honor police force from another country to come in your country, actually take over the police force of your country because you are in a disagreement as a minister with your local national police force. I think that is something very, very dangerous.
Yes.
And we should never, never, never agree with the government of our country that are you going to use those types of instruments to control local issues of the police force of our nation. That is unacceptable, and I hope that that will not take place. And of course, knowing the police force of the Netherlands Antilles, I think it will be brave of them not to go in the invitation of the minister, to just for the minister to realize that she's minister of country Sint Maarten and cannot solve problems from country Sint Maartens with tools from another country, like for example Curaçao. She has nothing to do with that. On the other side, I do believe that it's the solving of the problem of the police force is a matter of money, because at the end of the day, it trickles down to finance.
Yep.
And I have analyzed the budget of country Sint Maarten, the national budget that has been approved, and actually there are no actions taken in this budget that is going to oversee all the costs, all the financial consequences of actually carrying the obligations of government towards the functiebook as it's being prescribed for the police officers. I have even a recommendation that I think that I do believe that the country does not have the finance, the liquidity to buffer this agreement with the police force of Sint Maarten. And I do believe the only way that you can solve this problem on a short period of time is, for example, to approach the commercial banks and see if you can get to an agreement between the state, the country, the government, and the private banks here in Sint Maarten, and see if you can get a loan that you spread it in 15, 20 years and you're going to pay it back. At least you have that lump sum of money that you can start just adhering to your obligations towards the police force of Sint Maarten. I think that is one of the solutions that I foresee on the short term to solve this problem, but I really believe it has to be solved for the police force of Sint Maarten.
I also believe it's something that should have been solved a long time ago. That's a new solution for me. I think that's something that can be explored. I think at the end of the day, if there is political will to get it done, it can be done and it should be done. Mm-hmm. One of the things that surprised me in one of the interviews a couple of weeks ago, where it was said, yes, you don't want them to get all their monies at the same time because it would mean that we would have to, a bulk of it would go into the taxes. Even that I disagree with, because I say, look, these police officers, these frontline workers, they have over the years missed opportunities in all different sectors, be it in education for their children, be it in owning their own homes, be it in whatever it may be, because we were short paying or we did not correct the payments of the frontline workers or police officers.
Yes.
Now today you're going to tell me that you want to also still tax them on what you rightfully own them? No. For me, in my opinion, even that statement should have been, you know what? We're going to make a way to find a way to pay you, and we're going to find a way that we're going to exempt you from a certain amount because we understand that we have caused you great pain financially, emotionally, and the job that you are doing is so important to us. We're going to find a way to exempt you from paying tax on that particular amount.
Based on the missed opportunities that they has experienced in the past. I mean, you must not forget it. As you have explained it, they have missed opportunities in life because of the underpayment of the past.
To the point where you have officers doing certain things, they put between a rock and a hard place and made bad decisions. Made bad decisions just because of the competent authority not doing what they have to do. Or even they're not allowed to work a second job, so they take second jobs undercover, and then you hear members of certain institutions saying, okay, so let's amend the legislation that they can work. No. Pay them what they're supposed to be paid, so that they can make this their primary earnings, and therefore there'll be less opportunity for corruption.
Yes, absolute. I completely agree with you. The other frontline workers for me is, for example, also the nursing staff of our country. I mean, look what all of us have done, especially the nurses also, for the combating and controlling of the pandemic that we had recently. I mean, chapeau, as we say, for what all the nurses have done to keep our country going, taking care of the sick, not only in the pandemic, but on a daily basis. And I also do believe that the nurses should be paid correctly because they are doing a tremendous job for us. And you realize that when your health is at stake, then you realize how important this care is for individuals in our community. And I also believe that we should honor, respect, and be grateful to the nurses here in St. Maarten, not only in the St. Maarten Medical Center, but also those going at the different districts, the district nurses visiting the houses. I think they're doing a tremendous job.
Yeah, I also agree that they're doing a tremendous job. Over the period of time, I have been talking to individuals, and sometimes you hear a lot of complaint about the medical center, about the service that's been there, is being given, that it's low, and that they're not happy with it. But at the end of the day, you have to dig. Why is the service that way? Why are our citizens not receiving the best service at our number one medical institution? And when you talk to some of the nurses, you understand as well that they too are going through certain things. Psychologically, when they see, for example, during COVID, bodies going out in bags, for example. The conditions that they also have to work with regard to, I mean, Doc, you know it better than I do.
Of course.
You know it better than I do. It's not fair.
No, it's not fair. And Richard, I think seeing the issues in, for example, the justice and also in healthcare, I really, really pray to God, for us to get the opportunity, to get the chance to be in the upcoming next government, for us to be the difference for the future, not promising anything, just trying to get things back on track for the primary necessities of our country. Dealing, for example, with the police officers, I'm not scared to get myself involved in this problem because we must solve this problem for the police officer, looking at the work condition of the nurses. And we didn't even touch base, Reginald, on our teachers that are on a daily basis under very demotivating circumstances, bad accommodation for education, are still standing up every morning, go to school, sit in front of a class of 20 to 30 children and try to give them a better future, because that is why you do it, to educate them, for them to have a better future. Reginald, time is flying on us. We are having an interesting discussion about our frontline workers here in St. Maarten. I'm going to take a small break and we will be back in a few minutes to continue our discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second half of our radio program. You are St. Maarten on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. As you know, we have here with us as a host today, as an invité today, we have here with us Reginald Brugge. And Mr. Brugge is also a candidate on the URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten movement, that is going to contest the upcoming parliamentary elections for country Sint Maarten. As you know, Reginald Brugge is a very committed young gentleman, father of 2 kids,
Yes.
and with a big love and a big heart for his country, a man of integrity. And as a leader of the URSM, I'm very, very, very honored and proud to have a gentleman as Mr. Brugge on my political party slate contesting the upcoming parliamentary elections. And we hope that these elections will be sooner than later, but okay, whenever it may be, the URSM is ready to deal with the upcoming elections for country Sint Maarten. We have been discussing in the first half of our radio program, actually we were talking about the frontline workers for country Sint Maarten, and it's not only about the education, the healthcare, and the poverty that is killing the country at this particular moment, but it's also about the condition under which the frontline workers nowadays have to work to keep our country going. And we had some discussions in the first half of our radio program in which we were highlighting the essence and the importance to have a well-organized frontline workers group for your country, because if it's dysfunctional, you're going to have also a dysfunctional democratic system. Regional, we spoke about our police officers, and I just touched base before we finalized the first half of our radio program. We were talking about the nurses. And let's talk a little about the teachers now, Regional. And we look, for example, about the crying conditions under which the teachers of Sint Maarten are working. I really believe also that more has to be done for the teachers. But Regional, you know what our problem is with education? There are a few challenges with this educational system we have. First of all, we have never, as a country, since 2010, we have never defined the level of education that we want for our country. You know, so we are offering the people of our country a education, but we never defined it if it's the correct one that we are offering them, or if it's custom-made to the necessities
Of our people, of the country.
of the labor market, for example. And I do believe that if we want to be serious with the contribution of education for the evolution of mankind, of our nation in general, I really believe that we will have to be serious about defining the type of education that we think will fit best country Sint Maarten, not only to in general educate the people of the country, but also to actually be more customized to the necessities of the labor market of the country.
Agree with you, Doc. 100%.
And I think
100%. Like I said earlier in the first half of the show, I believe that our number one pillar of this country is our people, and we have to invest in them. Look, even after Hurricane Irma,
yes,
one of the main group of individuals that we needed was skilled workers.
Yep.
We didn't have enough. But yet every year there's a list that goes out there and says, for the scholarship, this is what we need. This is what you should study.
Yeah.
And then when that list is out there, the students to go by that list, but when they come back, they can't get the job.
Yeah.
But you told them to go study this.
Yes.
But we didn't go the extra step, the extra mile to ensure that at the end of their educational journey, that there's a job waiting for them. There is with a decent pay, because that's also very important, with a decent pay, and with the possibility that they can also create a life in Sint Maarten where they can own their own home, for example.
Yeah. And you know, the key now for the future of this country to create a common sentiment of the being one in this country, to unify our people.
Patriotism.
is our patriotism, but that is a difficult challenge for us, this patriotism, Reginald, because we are a country of 120 different nationalities.
I agree with you.
And it's a great example for the world, and I'm proud of it, that we share this country with 120 different, but it challenges, of course,
I believe
a little
it's a challenge, but I don't think it's impossible.
Impossible.
It starts, for me, my opinion,
Yes.
it starts with something as simple as making sure, for example, every school has a flagpole.
Yes.
Once every school have a flagpole, you make sure that every day they raise that flag, and it helps build patriotism.
Of course.
It also means, for example, let's start adopting a Sint Maarten. We have a Sint Maarten song, but we don't have an anthem. That has been the great debate. So let's start finalizing that.
Yeah.
For years, we have decision makers that talk about it, but you don't see any results.
Yeah.
Let's start putting pen to paper, and let's start showing results. We have got to, and for me, I think that's one of the reasons why we are so backwards compared to a lot of parts of the world, is because we are not embracing what we have. We are not creating patriotism among the different nationalities that we have.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, a lot of things are left that are unjust. People are not standing up for what they're supposed to stand up for.
Yeah.
But that's because we haven't created that we are one mentality that
Yes.
have to be established.
And regional unification, being one, being each other's keepers, that is going to be the key for a successful community as Sint Maarten.
Correct.
We have to stop fighting with each other. We have to start holding each other's hands, and we have to create the oneness for all of us, that we realize that we are one people in this nice country called Sint Maarten. But politicians and leaders should work on that too. Lead by example and stimulate that vision of being one people in this country. And if you start to divide and conquer, you're going to get more problems in this country. And I really believe that Sint Maarten is an example of how 120 nationalities can live peacefully next to each other. And I think I'm very proud to be part and share this community with others, realizing that we are very peaceful in our community that is being shared by 120 different nationalities. That is a great example for the world that is possible. And Sint Maarten is showing that, is proving it, that is possible for our country.
But it's something that it's not only that we see it as well, but the children also see it. Like, say, for example, this morning, my son told me, "Daddy, I learned Spanish.
Yes.
Daddy, I know English. Can you teach me Papiamentu?
Yeah, great.
Can you teach me French?"
Yeah.
I mean, the hunger is there. And he's only 6 years old.
Yes, and it is a sound, healthy hunger.
Yeah.
Of course, and more languages you control, the better you're going to integrate with others too. And it's going to make the unity better, of course, in our country. And I think, for example, with education, we can work on that too.
But that's where it starts, Doc. That's exactly where it starts. That's the foundation of our community,
of course.
The educational system.
Yep. Another sector that is not under justice, a lot of people don't know, but the fire department doesn't fall under the Minister of Justice, but under the Minister of General Affairs.
Yeah, the Prime Minister.
But also it's a frontline worker. It is how our government is organized, that at this particular moment the fire department falls under the Minister of General Affairs, and that is our Prime Minister. But even by those from the fire department, we see that actually it's the same issues that the police officers, the justice workers are confronting. It's actually the same.
Almost the function book.
Exactly. And I think that we have to one day solve all these problems, to have happy frontline workers to contribute to our country that is in high development, because we need to continue working on the prosperity and the evolution of this young country. Reginald, another one that is for me very painful to talk about is the whole issue of the prison. If you look at the chapter of the prison, it's not only about the accommodation that is a big cry in our community. The accommodation, technically as such, I think is inhuman, unacceptable in 2023. that we have a poor accommodation as our prison detention center. Another facet of this prison is not the prisoners that I think also are going through some challenging times, because I really believe that the conditions that the prisoners are in are actually challenging the human rights of humankind. I have visited the prison, Reginald, and I'm telling you, I was negatively impressed with the conditions under which the prisoners live in our detention center in Point Blanche. And it's not good what is taking place there. We know that. But one of the other way, the governments that have sat there until today were not motivated enough to change the conditions in the prison. I don't know what it is, Reginald.
You talk about the aspect of the conditions, but in addition to that, it's also, listen, the prisoners are human beings. They're there for a reason. They committed a crime.
Yeah.
The intention of a prison is to rehabilitate our prisoners.
Yeah.
I think that's something that also needs to be addressed, because when you speak to them, you ask them, okay, those that came out, what are the rehabilitation steps that took place?
Yeah.
And they're telling you nothing. They just at their time, they just do what they had to do and that's it. I mean, that is something that also needs to be addressed, because you know what? When they come out, they're going to come back out in our community. We want to make sure that they don't go back up there.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, we also have to make sure, and these individuals have family outside on the road as well that wants the best for them. But if the system is against them, then at the end of the day, again,
it was not
you
worth
force
it
them in a
longer.
corner.
Of course. Original, talking about the prison, we have not to forget the prison guards
Yes.
that are working under very difficult conditions. And I'm telling you, it's incorrect what we are doing with the prison guards of our country by treating them the way they're being treated by government at this particular moment. There is a big task for us, regional, in the nearby future. I hope that the people will wake up and realize that we have to do things different if we want to improve.
I have faith that they will.
I think
have
so
faith
too.
that they will.
You know,
Definitely.
Regional, I think that people are waking up now in our country, and I do believe that they are not automatically thinking that we are going to vote again once more for the established old political parties of the past. I realize that they are also realizing that those political parties with a track record of the past have had enough opportunities and time to do something great for the country, which did not happen. And all of a sudden now the output of our country, how it is in reality now, is actually just an expression of what we have invested in the past in our country. And I think that what we are seeing now is not enough as a foundation for the future, to build better for the future for this country. And I really believe that it's time now for other political parties to get the opportunity and the chance to move forward this country.
I'd like to add one of the frontline workers. We don't really mention them much or consider them frontline workers, but it's the airport workers.
Of course.
The airport are key. Airport and harbor, but the airport are key when it comes to the economy of this country. They have been working under crazy conditions.
Yeah.
Crazy conditions.
Since Irma.
Crazy hours. Yeah.
Since Irma.
Non-stop. And it's unfortunate that they also are going through so much issues.
Yeah.
It may sound like I'm negative,
No.
but unfortunately it's the situation.
It's the reality.
It's the reality of it. I'm highlighting these frontline workers, these first responders, these essential workers, and I'm grateful for them. But I also, like I said in the beginning, I hear their cry. I see what they go through.
Yeah.
When they go home, to their families, the conditions that they go to as well it's almost unbearable.
Yeah.
It's almost unbearable. And then you ask them to get up the next morning, put a smile on their face, and do it all over again.
Yeah.
And knowing at home, they are living in conditions that they have to choose between paying the rent or feeding their family.
Yes, incredible.
You know, it's
Yeah, you know,
I-
our country is in so many problems now, Reginald, that I really believe that we need a new government with new leadership, with new vision, with commitment and dedication, with a good heart at the right place, putting the people and the country above self. And if that is the start base of the new government of St. Maarten, that government is going to be successful. Because, you know, Reginald, I often at night I sit after a hard-working day and think, and I talk to myself and I say, I hope that the people of St. Maarten will have enough patience and understanding for the new government to put back first our country and community on track before people will realize that changes are taking place, because we are going to get this country for the new government that is going to take it over in a very deplorable state with, as we said, problems on all fronts.
we're not short on work.
We are not
We're
short
not
on work.
short on work when it
Yes.
comes to solving the issues.
Yes,
If
of course.
if given the
And
opportunity.
of the opportunity, we are going to do what we have to do. We are preparing ourselves well for the mandate of the people. If once we get that mandate, I think that we are committed and have enough discipline enough to do what we have to do.
Bring
for
back
the-
integrity.
bring back integrity in our country and moralize our
Morals,
community
correct.
again, because we are losing morals and principles at this particular moment in our country. And you know, Reginald, I've thought long about it. The governments that we have had in the past, this is a very, very, very strong statement that I'm going to make, have only worked on demoralizing our people. And we are now in a state, and the philosophy of demoralizing people is that at a certain moment they're completely lost in their principles and in their morals. And when you have people that are lost in their principles and morals, it's very easy as a government to reset their mind. And I'm against that. I think that it starts by feeling that you have an obligation as a government to moralize people, to bring back strong principles, values and norms to the citizens of your country, because you do not want a demoralized community as the base of your country.
Correct.
And that is what we're losing now. And there is an extra dimension. The poverty also is making that people are getting more demoralized, because now they are in a level of just surviving.
But Doc, there's an easy way to solve that.
Of
Doc, there's
course.
an easy
But
way
tell
to
me,
solve that.
tell the
The
people.
way you're gonna solve that is by making sure that you put persons of integrity, of
Yes.
principle, into office. Because remember, at
And
the end of
capable
the
people.
capable individuals.
Yes.
Because remember, at the end of the day, your representation is a reflection of your community.
Yes.
I believe that we are a community of integrity, and I understand what you say, but I have to be hopeful. I have to be hopeful
Of
to
course.
say that no, if our people start to analyze what has happened, as we continue to highlight to them,
Yeah.
and they start to make better decisions, then the situation can change and will change
Will change. And we believe strongly in the change for the nearby future of this
through the URSM.
through the URSM. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had here a very interesting discussion. I had here with me in our UR St. Maarten radio program Mr. Reginald Brugh. Mr. Reginald Brugh will be a candidate on the party slate of the URSM, the Unified Resilient St. Maarten Movement, and once more as leader of this political movement heading towards parliamentary elections. I'm very grateful to a candidate as Mr. Reginald Brugh, especially realizing the type of man he is, father of 2 kids, father of a great family, representing great morals and great integrity. And that is what we need now in our country. Politicians, leaders that are doing what they have to do on the basis of great morals and values and integrity. Reginald, before closing, I would like to give you the floor.
Well, thanks, Doc, again for inviting me to this program. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in and giving us your time. And we know time is very precious nowadays. As time goes by, I will be returning to the program. I will be using different medias as well, and I will be coming back with solutions for the different issues that we have highlighted per sector, giving you an opportunity to dissect everything that I say, the way that I think, the ideas that I have for this country to move forward. I believe in country above self. My lifestyle is country above self based on the type of organizations that I am involved in with regard to, say, for example, St. Maarten Food Bank. We've got Aveka S, my job itself dealing with young individuals. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe I know that change is going to come with the URSM. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, for listening, and please, I have hope in you. Please do the right thing when the time comes.
Fantastic, Reginald. Mr. Brug, once more thank you, you too, for being with me today in our radio program, You Are St. Maarten. Ladies and gentlemen, I think, Reginald, you want to say something else?
One last thing as well.
Yes,
please, ladies
course.
and gentlemen, tune in to my Facebook page. Go look at my Facebook page. Follow me on Facebook, and you will continue to see and hear a lot of my different messages as time goes by as well. So please, and also feel free to reach out to me if you think there's something that you would like to share and that you think I need to bring to the attention of the community.
Great.
Thank you.
Reginald, once more, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you too, thank you for your time that you took out to be with us in this radio program. I'm looking forward to have you back next week, Wednesday, from 6 to 7 p.m. on Radio Mix 94.7 FM for our next radio program, You Are St. Maarten. Wishing you all a pleasant evening. Good night.